And now here we are, folks. Let us talk about the best movies of 2024 slash top film discoveries, right? So in my case, I'm gonna do a top 15. CC, you're gonna do top 15 as well. And Ricardo and Tracy, y'all will do top 10, right? Because
Yeah.
y'all
So I
decided
have
to.
my runners up movies, just honorable mentions,
Yes.
and then I'll get to my top 10.
Okay, sure, no problem. All right, so I will kick things off at 15 to 11, and after that, CC, the floor is yours. You will do 15 to 11, and then from there we'll just go from 10 to 6, and then 5 to 1, right? So, honorable
I have a couple. I have a couple honorable mentions. Where do you want me to do those?
Okay. When I'm done with my 15 to 11, I wouldn't say too long, I promise. So once I finish my 15 to 11, you can do your honorable mentions and then jump into your 15 to 11, right? Okay. So honorable mentions, getting them out of the way, right? The Fall Guy. This was a fun time at the theaters. You know, just seeing Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling just have fun on screen though, and it's just this weird marriage of romantic comedy but action, but also murder mystery, but also celebrating the stuntman. And basically the show is, I mean, it's blatant, it's just basically the director saying, here's what, like, Oscars, please have a category first now, please. Like you all been watching us, literally bust our ass for decades. Like just give us a category now, please. That's what the Fall Guy is about, right? But yeah, this was just absolute fun, right? Got into this one late. Tracy, forgive me for this. Emilia Perez. Yeah, very, very, probably one of the most audacious films I've seen all year, though, because, yes, it's bold, it's grand, it swings, it's hitting a lot, right? But it has this really deep emotional story, and very unexpected, too, really, about this Mexican gangster who transitions into becoming a woman, and you see how that plays out in terms of his family, and then, of course, his enemies and all that kind of stuff. But at the center, you have a great performance by McGill, Zoe Saldana, who crushed it, both in the acting and the singing fronts as well too. Cause I didn't know she could sing like that. I was like, all right, Zoe. Like I said in my review, I'm waiting for that EP to come out. I'll check it out on Spotify. Please put it out. Also, on a side note, I hearing that this is just like a spoiler for what to expect later on. I hearing that Cynthia Erivo supposed to be putting out music. She's supposed to be putting out a debut album next year.
Yes, she is. Her album is coming out soon.
Yeah, I just found out that. I was like, all right, Cynthia, about time. Yeah. All right, keeping with the pace with honorable mentions. Rob Peace, great biopic. It's on Netflix right now. Definitely check it out. Inside Out 2. What a surprisingly great sequel, man. I mean, when it comes to Pixar sequels, you always kind of like, do we really need it? But this one was like, nah, this actually works, right? It really did work, and it really did warm my heart, right? And of course, the big standout character is, of course, Anxiety. I mean, we could all relate to that character, right? Recommending this to you, CC. This is a great documentary here. Made in England. The films of Powell and Pressburger.
Ooh,
great.
I've heard good things about that one.
Great film. The only two films I've really seen from them, there's the two popular ones. It's Black Narcissus and Peep and Tom, right? But I really, really do need to check out the entirety of their filmography.
Yes.
Though. Like, I just being reminded of all these great works. I'm like, I call myself a film buff. I've never watched the Tales of Hoffman. Like, I never sat down and watched that. Like,
right.
Why though? Like, why? I think you added it in one of your top film discoveries a few years back. I'm like, why though? But
last year, last year was one of my top ones. Yeah, because that film is a masterpiece.
Yeah, and even better, it is narrated by Martin Scorsese. I was like, boy, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to see this. But yeah, if you call yourself a film buff, you need to watch this. But yeah, for me, all right, I just need to watch these films. I know a majority of them in the Criterion Collection anyway, so yeah, I really need to check them out, right? There's few more titles. Long Legs. One of the most unsettling horror thriller films I've seen all year, though. Literally to the point, like literally every shot just meant to just sent chills up my spine, right? And it certainly did that, right? I was so fortunate to see this in theaters. And yeah, it really did feature a very memorable performance by Nicolas Cage. I mean, yes, he's been doing unhinged performances for years, but yeah, this one was on some creepy shit. It was on some genuinely creepy shit, right? But yeah, Long Legs was really great, right? Ricardo, do get man for this. Strange Darling. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Even though I didn't love it as much as all I do, this was just still a bold and daring and subversive take on the whole rape revenge, subgenre, right? They really did that
Right.
very well, right? And last but not least, stick with Netflix one last time with this honorable mention section here. Hitman.
Right.
Very, very, very well. Probably one of the best scripts I've seen materialize into screen all year, though. And a great performance like by Glenn Powell, right? Great, just a great narrative, though. Just true and true, right? Really enjoy that, right? And before I forget, a couple of guilty pleasures. So unfortunately for me, just letting you know, I did not get to see Nosferatu.
Right.
Unfortunately for me, I did not get to watch The Crow. But at least I saw Boy Kills World. So yes, I get to see Bill Skarsgård kick a lot of ass in this one. That was really solid,
wow.
really, really hacking to, it just felt like a graphic novel, like a video game inspired graphic novel come to life, right? And I actually did not mind, in retrospect, the voiceover narration from H. John Benjamin. I mean, Bob himself, Bob Belcher. I didn't mind it. It did actually add, a nice little element to the film. It really worked, right? And second and final, guilty pleasure movie for this year, Kill. A great, Indian, Hindi film and whatnot. All I'll just say is that the title shows up at just the right time. It comes at just the right time. And when it happened, I was like, yep, this is a show for me. This is indeed a movie for me. So just getting the 15 to 11 out of the way, and then we'll move on to CC's honorable mentions, right? Number 15, stick with Netflix again, Rebel Ridge. Yeah,
Nice.
I was hearing a lot of great things about this show. I was actually concerned if it was going to be some sort of overhyped kind of thing, but no, it was the real deal, right? A great, very well told, very well paced, very well filmed crime thriller from Jeremy Saulnier. I know I haven't caught up with a lot of his work. Last film I really saw from him was Green Room. I think that's like this one of two films I've really seen from this guy, right? But yeah, I really do need to check out Jeremy's work here. And for me, the standout in this though is Aaron Page, right? Like he owned this show,
gonna be Green Lantern. Hard.
Yeah. He did, right? I mean, yes, he is eye candy for for some viewers, right? But for me though, it's just how he just really committed to this role as this Marine, and it is sort of like a first blood, but in a sort of a a little racial undertone going on here too. At the same time, it's like, you get that though, but it's just how it's giving you that same sort of like 80s sort of like action vibe though, but in a modern context, right? And yeah, it just absolutely worked for me, right? Number 14. I am rooting for this film to win some sort of Oscar, but for me right now, the one I really hope that it wins is Best Cinematography by Edward Berger's Conclave. Wow,
Nice.
this was a great film here, boy. And yes, the cinematography was fantastic, though. Like literally every shot in this, I was like, what are y'all doing here with this, right? And it's how it explores the Vatican Church, and it's just basically centered around the idea of electing the next pope, right? But I just love how it goes deep into just basically saying, why should you win? Why should you be nominated to do this, right? We're talking about you being the pope, the next pope, but I love how it just goes deep into it, though. It explores the morality of it all and whatnot, and you get a great performance from Ray Fiennes in this, right? But yeah, for me, the standout thing about this movie here is the cinematography, right? And I have to mention to the direction from Edward Berger, who of course gave us All Quiet on the Western Front, right? But yeah, this has to win something at next year's Oscars, right? Number 13. Civil War. Yeah, boy,
Right.
A24 came through and say, here's what, we could make movies, we could make mainstream shit too, we could make mainstream shit, and did this with this, pretty much this really dark, bleak, dystopian film about just America in utter chaos, right? I mean, just two specific groups warring against each other, and the whole potential threat of the president being killed and whatnot. But yeah, it just gave, and it's from Alex Garland of all people, right? The guy who co-wrote 20 Days Later, right? So yes, you get that dystopian, kind of zombie Walking Dead kind of vibes, right? But you just swap zombies with just people, just redneck Americans, or just Americans who exercising their right to bear arms, right? And it's just about these characters, these journalists, right? Led by Kirsten Dunst, right? Trying to get from where they are to the White House, right? And it's just it's just like a bunch of tense scenarios, right? Yes, there's a couple of dope moments and whatnot, though, but still, this was just very well thought out and whatnot. And yeah, this is a term that a lot of people use for this, kind of prophetic as well. I mean, the mere fact that 824 put this out months before, the recent elections, that was ballsy in my opinion, right? But yeah, 824 took a huge swing with this, though, and yeah, they really knocked out the park with this one, right? Number 12, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, boy, West Ball came. He saw the assignment. He's like, here's what. All right, I need to continue on the saga. We're gonna do something a little bit different here. Caesar dead. All right, cool. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to focus on Noah now. So here's what. That's what we're gonna do. We have a great villain in the form of Proxima Caesar. You know what I mean? And boy, just the VFX work on this too. This is Oscar worthy in my opinion, right? But I just love the fact that they were just able to follow up from the excellent Planet of the Apes trilogy that we got last decade, and yeah, continue to explore this world, though, in very fascinating ways, right? And most importantly, this is what really worked for me. Tie it back to the original, series, right? So yes, there's a lot of cues from the 1968 film and whatnot, right? So yes, you're starting to see both, well, not so much a trilogy, but that recent trilogy and the old series, the anthology, if you will, sort of kind of bleed into each other now at this point in time, right? So I think this is going to be the start of a brand new trilogy here, and yeah, I can't wait to see what we get next, right? And last but not least, a show that I did not expect to enjoy so much. So glad I saw it in theaters. Shout out to Luca Guadagnino, though, because yes, this was his time and this was his show. Challengers, boy. They just gave Warner Brothers and MGM just gave this guy a budget and say, here's what, you make your film. You just go ham on this trend. This is exactly what he did here, right? He made me give a shit about tennis. He gave us this great love triangle, very, very, very schlocky and very scandalous as well too. But that's fun to watch as well, right? With Zendaya, Josh O'Connor and Mike Feist, right? And just getting great performances from the three of them, right? And it's just the sexual tension throughout the show and just where it led to. But for me, why I keep going back to Luca, though, is just dude was showing off on this movie, boy. Just the tennis sequences alone is like, dog, what are you doing? You strap a camera to the racket. Now you put a camera on the ball too. Like, I know it's not literally on the ball, right? But the idea is that we're supposed to follow the ball when it's being hit, right? Like, this is what you're doing. Like this is what you're doing. You're slowing time down while you're seeing the people playing. Like he was just showing off, though. But yeah, I had an absolute blast watching this, though. It was just a lot of fun to watch as well too. And also lastly, shout out to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for this coming through for a great score with this as well. And last point about Luca, I just love that even though this is, a mainstream film, I love that, he was still able to show off his fandom for art house films, right? So yeah, ever so often he will sprinkle in some French New Wave and some Italian neorealism here or there, and whatnot. Yeah, he just sprinkled his artsiness throughout this film here. But yeah, I had a lot of fun seeing this in theaters though, and I strongly recommend checking this out if you haven't already. So yes, CC, while I take a break, honorable mentions, and then you could go into 15 to 11.
All right. No, because I went through some pretty intense personal events this year, and namely, I actually got married, I was not able to quite get out to the movie theater as much as I normally do. So I don't have as big a pool of 2024 films to pull from as I normally like. So my honorable mentions are films I saw in 2024 that I dug the hell out of that did not make it to my favorite film of 2024, which will be the film that my top 15, which is, again, slimmed down from the usual 20 to top 15 to build to. But yes, 5 movies came out in 2024 that I absolutely loved, but didn't quite make my top list. First of all, a pleasant surprise, Twisters.
Okay.
I don't know.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
I wasn't expecting anything from this movie. I wasn't expecting anything in particular from this movie. I'm not a big fan of the original from the 90s, but I went and saw it with a friend, and I was pleasantly surprised at this very delightful stealth rom-com.
Right.
Like, when you put all the tornadoes aside and everything else, Twisters is very much like a kind of old school romantic comedy in a way that I found quite delightful, so I appreciated that. 2 films that I love but definitely have flaws, so didn't quite make my top 1. So big one here, and I'm still one of my favorites of the year, Megalopolis. Messy, yeah. Oh, I knew that one was going to.
Just a quick aside from Twisters is that we get to see Gordon Sweatner in action. So it's like, hey,
Yes.
I guess it's not bad.
Yeah, getting to see him in Twisters, I was excited for that. But yeah,
Right.
but no, yeah, Megalopolis. I don't love it despite its flaws. I love it for some of its flaws and some of the messiness and some of the others. Like, it's an absolute chaotic, self-indulgent movie, and I adore it. Another one that's a strong 9 but not a 10 is Civil War.
Okay.
Love Civil War was one of the movies I prioritized this year. Absolutely adored it. I wrote a whole piece about it. Shout out to Film Club 3K. I actually wrote a piece in one of their issues about Civil War that got published this year. That was a highlight for me. But no, Civil War is a fantastic movie. A grim what if scenario in that kind of old school science fiction kind of way of kind of using the genre of science fiction to kind of explore what if scenarios, and in this case kind of looking at what an American Civil War would look like and how absolutely horrifying that would be. So kind of social horror through sci-fi, which I deeply loved. And then my last 2 were films that I saw this year I adored and that I think are masterpieces, but both of them are kind of part of other movies, so they don't feel quite standalone enough for me to say favorite film of the year, which are Furiosa, which honestly feels like a part 1. Like Furiosa is a masterpiece, don't get me wrong. Furiosa is a masterpiece, 10 out of 10, great movie, but it feels like part 1 to Fury Road in a lot of ways.
Yes, I
so
understand.
masterpiece, but it's mostly a masterpiece in connection to Fury Road. And then the other one, which is even more this case, is Dune Part 2. Again, also a masterpiece, also fantastic, but it is part 2.
Yes.
It is the second part of a Dune movie, so not quite standalone enough for me to call it my favorite film of the year. But yeah, those are my 5.
I will discuss both later on, because I have a nice little debate. Let's say a nice little conversation I want to make about that, but later on, right? But yeah, sorry.
Yes, definitely. But getting into the list proper, and as in previous years, the way I work is oldest film moving up to the most recent. So oldest 10 out, and these are all 10 out of 10 masterpiece movies, probably will make it onto my favorite films of all time list. But first one from 1945, because I was on a big David Lean kick this year, is one of his earliest, Brief Encounter.
Oh, haven't seen that as yet.
Brief Encounter is one of the most aching, devastating romance films you will ever see. It's an affair story, two people who have respective spouses fall desperately in love with each other and have this kind of brief moment where they get to be in love and get to enjoy being in love, but then reality kind of creeps in on them, and it's all told from her perspective as she's kind of looking back at this affair and wondering if she can ever summon up the energy to tell her husband. And oh my god, the pain, like that this is all. I think when I logged in on Letterboxd, all I did was the emotional damage meme, because it's like so much of this movie is like these beautiful moments where these characters get to share these moments of like genuine connection, and then interrupted by the stark reality that this won't last. And so yeah, Brief Encounter, absolutely devastating. This next one, also from the 40s, this was a Martin Scorsese recommendation, one of the films that inspired Killers of the Flower Moon. The Heiress, directed by William Wyler,
All right.
based off the Henry James novella Washington Square, later adapted into and based on turned into a stage play and then turned into a film, which is about a young woman in Gilded Age America, who's kind of coming into her her father is a doctor, and so she is due to come into a considerable amount of wealth, and she suddenly becomes the target of interest from this young man who has no prospects. And the big central question of the story is he, like, because there is the two readings, there is the fact that he's actually in love with her and that her father is being cruel and cynical, and there's also the reading that that he is in fact a fortune hunter. Neither her father nor the man who's interested, and by the way, he is played by Montgomery Clift, so of course that performance is absolutely fantastic. The main character herself is played by Olivia de Havilland. The main, like, it does in many ways feel like a woman kind of being caught between two men who are both pretty not great characters in themselves. And so you kind of get to see her develop and kind of come into her own. There's a lot of tension here. It's also a dark story at times, and the absolute Olivia de Havilland's central performance, and I can't explain how until you've seen the movie, but Olivia de Havilland's central performance is revolutionary. It's like you're watching someone invent acting. Moving into the 50s now, but this is 59, so exactly a decade later, talking in the theme of post-apocalyptic films, and in tribute to a recent artist, to a recent fallen soul, is The World, the Flesh, and the Devil, 1959, starring Inger Stevens, Mel Ferrer, and the late, great Harry Belafonte. Oh, yeah, no, it's fantastic black and white post-apocalyptic movie. Essentially, Harry Belafonte plays a miner who is underground when some kind of cataclysm happens on the surface. He is able to escape and thinks he might be the last person on the planet. And it's a harrowing film as he kind of wanders through empty city after empty city trying to find any other survivors. Eventually, he encounters a woman, he encounters a white woman that's Inger Stevens' character, and there's this whole tension between them of, do the rules of society that had previously existed still count now that everyone else on the planet might be dead? How do we, what does life and society look like now? It's definitely one of the darker post-apocalyptic films I've seen in a hot minute, and I really appreciated that. Harry Belafonte is brilliant in it. Cannot recommend this film enough. Yeah, The World, the Flesh, and the Devil. Moving on, 1961 is an Elia Kazan movie, and the one that I think has the strongest case for Natalie Wood being one of the greatest actresses who ever lived is Splendor in the Grass.
Oh, still haven't seen that.
Also, absolutely fantastic. Also, absolutely brutal. These two young people in slightly rural, set in the 1920s, right before the Great Depression, and that becomes a plot point later. You have these two young people. He's from his father really came into a lot of sudden wealth through oil. Her family is a little poorer. They're attracted to each other, but obviously since they're growing up, this is the 20s, and they're both from a very religious community, there's kind of a separation in play there. And you think, oh, okay, Romeo and Juliet story. Oh, no. That would be too easy. Remember, this is the director who did On the Waterfront and A Face in the Crowd. So, of course, we get into the kind of, we get into sexual politics, we get into morality, kind of like there's a lot of psychological stuff that goes on here in a really, really great way. Natalie Wood's performance as this young woman who's coming into feelings that no one will explain to her that she's really struggling with, but she's also being told are wrong, is absolutely fantastic. She has you kind of watch. I don't know if you've whatever else you've seen Natalie Wood in, you watch her in this movie and you kind of feel like you're watching her for the first time. But yeah, Splendor in the Grass, 1961. And then my number 11, a film that I watched because I was kind of exploring disaster movies, because Twisters was coming out, there was a lot of movie discourse, because I did not think for a long time that I really liked disaster movies very much. Like, I had tried a couple, but, you know, I hadn't liked Towering Inferno. There was a couple others that I tried and wasn't the biggest fan of. And then I watched this one and I discovered that maybe I don't like disaster movies, but if you give me a good survival movie, I adore it. And that would be 1972, directed by Ronald Neame, The Poseidon Adventure. The original.
I haven't seen that in ages, man.
Yes.
No. The original Poseidon Adventure is a goddamn masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like, I was surprised how good this movie is. Like, it's one of those movies I was like, oh, okay, yeah, kind of a fun time. I wasn't expecting, like, you know, a priest wrestling with his faith. I wasn't expecting the clash of like, it's got all the grit of a good, like, what I think I like about a good survival movie, like why I come back to like Romero's Dead trilogy and films like that, is I love the whole question of how humans behave when put under circumstances of stress. You know, like like we all think of ourselves as one kind of person, but then what happens when we're in like a disaster scenario or a war or a post-apocalyptic environment? And with the Poseidon Adventure, you know, you do the whole thing where you set up this whole group of ensemble characters, all played by the big name actors. You put them in a pretty brutal survival situation, and then you kind of watch them see what kind of people they really are. And I don't know, like every actor is pulling their like I mean, obviously this is Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Carol Linney, Roddy McDowall, Stella Stevens, Shelley Winters, like even Leslie Nielsen in a small role. Like, these are actors that, like, you know, are good, but you're still absolutely shocked. And that's because the film feels so raw. And then again, I cannot come back to this enough, but at the center of it is, you know, Gene Hackman playing a more like kind of liberal like priest who's wrestling with questions of faith and like what it means in like a world with poverty and things like that, who is in this situation, is like trying to like get these people to safety. And like a lot of his arc drives a lot of the film for me in some pretty big ways, but that's just like one part of it. And like I think I genuinely enjoy, because every character is played by a big name. It's a little bit like what James Gunn pulls with the Suicide Squad. There's a genuine sense that any of these characters might actually die, and that tension, the movie does a pretty good job of keeping the movie does a pretty excellent job of keeping that tension throughout. So yeah, my number 11 best movie I saw this year, the original Poseidon Adventure, absolutely fantastic.
Right. I love that you keep saying the original one, because anybody remember that one from what, 2006 or 5?
Terrible.
Poseidon?
Absolutely terrible.
I never watched it.
I watched it
at all.
I watched it right after the original, and I was floored how bad it was.
Yeah.
Like, I watched it right. I watched
Garbage.
it.
Absolute garbage. I saw it in theaters. Garbage.
I honestly didn't even bother.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I watched them on the same day.
Right.
And it was interesting how every single good decision that the Poseidon Adventure makes, the remake does the opposite and makes a worse film as a result.
Yeah, they change it for changing its sake. Dumb.
Oh yeah, no. Like, the Poseidon Adventure is this really great thing where all the protagonists are working class, kind of like, you know, like blue collar people, and like you really like you get people who are on this cruise because, like, you know, they got a lucky win, that kind of thing, and you really care about them. So of course the remake has to make everyone like these rich assholes who are just on like a floating casino, and you're like,
again,
oh,
they try to flip everything, and it's rubbish, total nonsense.
Oh, absolutely. And so much of just the kind of the noisy 2000s action bullshit. And like you know your movie's bad when even Kurt Russell can't save it, really.
I remember making the joke, is like, these kind of idiots who thought that an upside down cake means you actually turn a cake upside down. It is so terrible. Like, you know, that's not how you invert something. That's not how you invert something.
Yeah.
I remember absolutely hating this movie. Rubbish.
Oh, it's terrible. No, the Poseidon remake was terrible. Just go watch the original. Although it's a Fox film, so
I think
it's
that same year.
weirdly
That same year,
difficult to find.
did they have that same year they have an adaptation of Bewitch, I think. And I remember thinking this was not worse than Bewitch, but it was still close. And because the Bewitch is Bewitch and Will Ferrell. I think it was that same year. Garbage.
Yeah. I think it was around the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolute garbage. Whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. All right. So yeah, Ricardo, much to my surprise, you actually have a top 15 list. So
Right.
you could mention honorable mentions if you have any, and then you could share your 15 to 11.
Right. Run-ups for movies. Sure. Right. So before we get to 15 to 11, just more run-ups. Yeah. Speak No Evil.
All right.
That's good. That's all right. Not bad. I saw the TV Glow.
That was a show I need to rewatch though. I don't think I got to it in my first watch, but I feel like if I watch it over again, I will enjoy. But it did tap into my midnight movie, fandom. Cause I love midnight movies. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. Deadpool and Wolverine.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Not in my top 10 or anything. Or not even in my top list. But just there. It was good. And it made the money and it do the homage to the Fox stuff. But yeah, it is. Script was kind of weak for me, and it wasn't there for me. Anyway, piece by piece.
You saw it, all right? Wait, you thought? Just quickly.
Yeah, pretty good. A lot of I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, but yeah, I dug the hell out of it.
Nice.
Pretty good. Woman of the Hour.
Right. Yeah. Great. Directorial debut from Anna Kendrick. Great film. Yeah.
Yeah. Twisters, pretty good. Mostly because I watched this just to see Corn Sweat, right? Just to see if this guy is real deal. Much like how with Cavill and he did that Greek fantasy movie back in the days. You see it just for them. Just see if they could hold up. And yeah, it's pretty good, but it's a solid script on its own. Rebel Ridge, right?
Right.
Right. Beetlejuice. Right.
Okay. I thought it was alright. Yeah.
Right. It would mention. I think it was a thing. Alien Romulus.
Oh, still haven't seen it. But yeah. I will.
Yeah. In a Violent Nature.
Oh, okay. I wanted more out of it, but I do understand why you put it in your
right, honorable mention. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. Hitman.
Right.
Like it. Yeah. Planet of the Apes, new one.
Kingdom. Yep.
Yeah. Right. Mufasa. Good.
I
liked it. Oh, it was. Probably the knocking, the national theater and thing. I thought it was alright for what it was, but again, you don't need to do big moves.
Yeah. We boy Barry Jenkins. Yeah.
But you get back, moving on. You don't make no more. Yeah, but I get what you're trying to do. But the problem is that as I said, it was Space Jam 2 all over again. He did too much. The studio had too much control. If he had more freedom, it might have been better. Sonic 3. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not bad. I get it apply. Fine.
Yeah.
Shirley.
I forgot about Shirley. I forgot about Shirley. How could I?
Shirley,
yeah.
Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Still haven't seen that. It.
Unfortunate, right? This barely make it squeak by as honorable mention. However, I give it the blind. 668. Yeah. Kind of dumb.
Oh, okay.
It didn't really work. Tyler Perry still effing it up. However, I give it a chance. Night Bitch.
All right.
Saw that. It came out. Saw it. I thought I enjoyed more, but it's alright. Fine. Anora. Saw it.
Okay.
Like
you all right. Honorable mention. All right. Okay.
Honorable mention. Yeah. Gladiator 2.
All right. Yeah.
Right.
Ridley did this thing. He did this thing. I can't be mad.
Superman.
Yes, the Christopher Reeve story. Yes.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve is not bad. Right. Strange Darling. Right. Nugget.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Honorable mention. Noted. Right. Yeah. Bad Boys 4.
Yeah. Ride or Die. Yes. That was indeed enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fun. Monkey Man.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Not bad. Right. So 15 to 11.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So let me see where we're gonna go with this. All right. So number 15, Piano Lesson.
All right. Haven't seen it, but I know you really enjoyed that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really great stuff. Right. Number 14, Wild Robot.
Oh, so high. All right.
Yeah. I dug the hell out of this. The more I think about it, just really well done.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah. Sorry.
Number 13, Transformers 1.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty good. Had fun. Dug the hell out of it. Number 12?
Number 12.
Paddington in Peru.
Oh, still haven't seen that.
Yeah, pretty good. All the animation stuff, they make it kind of low for it is, but except for one. Yeah. This was number what? Number
11.
11. Woo. This one is a hot thing, but I want to say Wicked, number 11. It's good.
Okay.
It made my top 15.
Excuse me?
I know, right, Tracy? Like
I
Tracy
know.
woke up. What did you say?
I literally had to unplug my mic. I was like, okay, cool, fine.
Number
yeah.
11. How dare
Yeah.
you?
But it was good. Pretty good. That's how I enjoyed. So, but I made my list. But like, it's like with Barbie, it's like 10 for me. But they're good. But music, they make the music not like fully dance, right? So
I get it.
God.
I get it.
God.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So now that we are in the top 10 now, Tracy, now this is your opportunity to kick off the top 10 section, right? So you will do 10 to 6. But if you have any honorable mentions, you could let us know them one time. Let us know what they are. Sorry, one time.
I don't have any honorable mentions. Per se. But I will say that if I had the time to sit down, like I have these films here, but I haven't had the time because of everything that was going on with school to sit down and take Ian Lee, Conclave, Transformers, and Megalopolis, and maybe even Y2K. Some of these things here might have been shifted on the list. But in terms of, I'm going to give you my 10 to 6. In terms of the top 10 list. So for 10, Twisters, plural.
Yeah, Twisters.
I like it. I'm one of those who legitimately liked the 1994, I think it was the original one. There's a
96, which
96.
makes the timing of the sequel kind of weird in retrospect, but whatever. Hollywood sequels, right? Whatever. Moving on.
Now that you mention it, it could really have been, like a thing to that. But yeah, so 10 was Twisters, 9 is Monkey Man because Dev Patel, and here's the thing. I'm a big fan of behind the scenes stories. So I like the idea, and especially given what it is I was trying to do, what I am trying to do. I like hearing all the behind the scenes of like how he got this organized and what was the process and all the amount of stress and strain. And then I sat down and I watched Monkey Man and I was like, okay, yes, this is a vibe. So this will give me number 9. Number 8 is a beautiful 60s-esque rom-com vibe, Fly Me to the Moon.
Oh, I
Which
forgot
is-
about that.
didn't see this. Yeah.
I didn't see it though.
Scarlett Johansson and Channing Gambit.
Channing Gambit. Lol.
So and she is and it's things that I like as well because like I'm in advertising and so she plays a character called I think Kelly, who is an advertising exec, and she gets roped in to market the whole space NASA's quest to go on the moon, and there's a whole subplot there because you have the marketing of NASA, but then you also have the idea of if they can't make it or if some other randomness goes on, we have this other crew on the ground who is there going to film a fake moon landing just in case anything happens.
Wow.
That was deeply hilarious, and I quite liked the story. So, Fly Me to the Moon is number 8. Number 7 is The Fall Guy, or as I like to
Nice.
call it, Ken's movie.
Yeah.
I literally, from the time I saw the trailer, I was like, this is Ken's movie. After he figured out his Mojo Dojo Casa House, this is his movie. So number 7 is The Fall Guy, and number 6 is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Nice.
Deadpool and Wolverine. It was one of those things. I'm not gonna lie. I was up in the cinema. I was up in the higher up in the cinema, and when I saw coming on towards the end, this is not well. I mean, it's a little bit of a spoiler for those who haven't seen it, but it end just before they, came back to our reality, and Blade looks up into the sky as the portal opens up for the two of them to jump in, and some kind of emotion literally washed over me because I honest to goodness thought that I would, I would never see Wesley Snipes reprise.
For real.
He did. He did that piece of scene there in What We Do in the Shadows,
Right.
as one of the vampire council members, and that kind of stuff. So you expect maybe like a spoof here or whatever. And there's a part of me that still thinks that somehow, whenever Marvel finally figures out what the movie is, he might have shown up. But I didn't expect to see Blade, or even though the movie may not have been everybody's cup of tea, the idea of seeing Jennifer Gardner in that suit again did things. So number 6 for me is Deadpool and Wolverine. And I've got to stop here, and then we can always go back to, I can do a reround again in terms of my top 5.
Sure. So yeah, CC, you're 10 to 6.
10 to 6. All right. And again, so starting with number 10. And because it seems as keeping with last year, where I also had an opera film on my list, I have on my number 10 Ingmar Bergman's adaptation of The Magic Flute.
Okay, what year was it released?
1975.
Okay.
In the Criterion Collection. I think pretty consistently on the channel. Really, really fantastic. Because obviously with opera, bringing opera to film is really difficult. I touched on this when I was talking about Tales of Hoffmann last year. And the thing about Ingmar Bergman that he does for The Magic Flute that's really cool is it's somehow both a film adaptation of a production of The Magic Flute, while also being a proper adaptation of The Magic Flute. So there'll be moments where like you're watching characters on a stage do opera stuff, and then next minute the stage will just kind of disappear, and they'll be on an actual like location or an actual set or something like that, because Ingmar Bergman is a madman. But no, and like as far as like bringing the opera to life, making it really accessible, not accessible. I mean, it's still Ingmar Bergman. The entire interlude is played over shots of people staring at the stage, so it's still Ingmar Bergman. But yeah, as far as like bringing the opera to life in a really interesting and really creative way, I absolutely adored The Magic Flute. Number 9 is this is from 1983, and this is a weird one because it's kind of a movie, but it was also released as a TV miniseries. I think it works either way, which is The Day After.
Ooh.
I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with that one.
I know about it, but still haven't seen it.
Yes. It's one of those movies where its reputation precedes it, because for those unaware, the premise of The Day After is it's a little bit like a disaster movie, because it follows this kind of like classic disaster movie where it follows that formula of like an ensemble cast that get caught up in the middle. Except in this time, the disaster is a nuclear war between the US and the Soviet Union. And so we follow all these different characters and their lives and like everything in the build-up, and as everything gets worse and worse, and then both sides fire the bomb. Yep. And then we keep going as we watch.
Oh, bad life.
And here's the thing. Oh yeah, and you watch as everything around them physically falls apart. Like they start to fall apart. The world as they know it is completely ended. I mean, this is an apocalyptic film with every actor involved turning in their A game. There's a urban legend that Ronald Reagan kind of reversed his stance on nuclear war after seeing it, and after watching it, like, I believe it. I believe after watching the movie,
I was reminded of this film because of playing Fallout London, because they had their British equivalent of it, and they pull from this as well a lot. With that,
yes,
so it's like I was like, oh yeah, right.
Well, the thing about it that I find absolutely harrowing is that you watch this movie, whether you watch it as a miniseries or as a film, you get to the end and you've just been through a pretty brutal experience where, again, this is not a movie about hope. This is not even a movie about like strapping a rifle to your back and riding your motorcycle out into the wasteland. This is a movie about how this is the end of us. And no one wins a nuclear war. And the thing that's so harrowing is that the film gets to its end, and then a little title credit scrolls up the screen where they basically say, what you just watched is the Hollywood simulation of what fallout and post-nuclear war would look like. The reality would be 10 times worse.
Right.
And I think hitting you with that gut punch after you've just spent like 2 hours watching what you think is like, oh God, this is so, and they're like, yep, as bad as you just had it, this could be so much worse. So Yeah, that was absolutely harrowing and one of the best films I saw this year. Highly recommend. Number 8 in 1993, and I cannot believe I had not watched this particular filmmaker before, especially since she had a new film come out a few years ago that everyone got very excited about. But Jane Campion's The Piano.
Finally.
Oh, you didn't watch this before? Wow. Okay.
I have no idea how I never got around to The Piano before. This film is fantastic. Like, this film is actually fantastic. Like, as far as just being this absolute, like, sexually tense, like, colonial, like, gothic, like, drama, it is. I don't even know where to begin. Like,
I was reminded of how good she was because of a little thing that came out around 10 years ago called Top of the Lake. Top of the Lake is amazing. It's a great like mystery drama. It does kind of do True Detective stuff before True Detective in a sense. Like, it's a kind of True Detective before True Detective in a sense. I strongly recommend Top of the Lake. I think it's New Zealand stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah, Top of the Lake. Okay, yeah.
And I just reminded of her, like, oh shit, this is the director of Piano Dread. Like, oh shit, this is really amazing, dude. Like, strongly recommend Top of the Lake.
Oh yeah, and like the thing I think about The Piano that absolutely strikes me is it is such a sensual movie. Like, it's hard to explain, but this is a movie that really makes you so aware of the sensation of touch, of not only what it feels like to touch, but to what being touched feels like. And it is amazing all the different, because that seems like such a simple thing, but it is amazing all the different ways the film comes up with to continue to play with that sensation and what it says about, and then like the way it focuses on hands and the way hands interact, and the way hands play into eroticism, but then also into violence. There's oh goodness, if you haven't seen The Piano, I just possibly spoiled a very important scene, which you need to go see The Piano, because I feel like if you've seen this movie, when I talk about hands, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Jesus Christ.
And Harvey Keitel was kind of that guy in this movie, yeah?
I was floored by Sam Neill's villain in this movie.
Yes.
Like Sam Neill is this kind of like whimpering, kind of simpering guy who you think like, oh, this guy's like a pushover in a wet blanket, who has such a capacity for violence and darkness and possessive evil. And The Piano, as far for my little heart that like loves me the Brontes and Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak, The Piano is absolutely masterpiece. Sticking with the 90s, moving forward a few years with another movie, a bit more obscure, but oh goodness, but I believe the director's name is Predrag Antojajevic, but the film is Savior. Now, this one, little context. So essentially, the in this movie, Dennis Quaid plays a soldier who goes through unbelievable personal tragedy and emotionally shuts down. Like he gives in to his most dark, xenophobic, like hatreds of darkness, and he joins the French Foreign Legion, but they don't give him enough opportunities to kill, and then he ends up serving as a mercenary in the Bosnian War. Wow. And there's a couple things about this film, and oh yeah, it is an absolutely harrowing. It's a harrowing story. It has just a little bit of a hint of melodrama, because what ends up happening is it's like the darkest lone wolf and cub type story you ever saw, because he ends up being the protector of a pregnant woman. And then later, the pregnant woman and her child, as he is trying to get them to safety. And again, it's so difficult because you'd explain the premise to someone. They're like, well, what, The Mandalorian with Dennis Quaid? And I'm like, I cannot explain to you how dark this movie is. I cannot explain how absolutely harrowing. First of all, the director is, like the director himself is, I can't remember, like Serbian or Bosnian, director himself. No, Serbian. So a lot of the stuff you were seeing in the movie, he experienced in one way or another, first or second hand. The screenplay director Robert Orr was based off actual experiences with soldiers that he knew from different combat situations. So some of the darkest stuff you see on the screen was based off real events, but then also some of the lighter stuff, like not lighter stuff, but like things like the basic premise, but he was like he interviewed a soldier who had found an abandoned child somewhere in the war, and then that soldier then had actually tried to get that child to safety in the middle of like this active combat zone with some of the worst of humanity on display. It's a movie about losing your humanity, and then and then kind of taking yourself to the darkest places that you could go, and then like essentially finding it again. Like, it is a difficult movie to recommend, but I honestly think it's a worthwhile one. And it came to my attention because it's produced by Oliver Stone, who, that man, I feel like whatever you want to say about the man as a filmmaker, he's one of my favorites, but then also as a producer, I think he's pretty on ball when it comes to picking out what projects. And then number 6, moving away from finding the absolute darkest of humanity, we then move on to the absolute one of the lightest of humanity with we were talking about the lightest of humanity while talking about a David Lynch movie, but this is David Lynch's The Straight Story.
Oh, I heard a lot of great things about this. Yeah,
The Straight Story is fantastic. Again, based on a real story. It's about a man in his 70s living in Indiana who learns that his brother who lives in Wisconsin had a stroke, but he is recovering in his home, so he may not live very much longer. So he decides he wants to go see him. The problem is he doesn't have a car. He just gets on his John Deere tractor and drives to Wisconsin to go see his brother. And I have a hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think David Lynch is a more sentimental director than he is given credit for. I think that David Lynch feels all of his feelings in the most intense and the most squishy ways possible. I'm saying this having seen Wild at Heart, and I'm also definitely saying this after The Straight Story, because The Straight Story is such a gently melancholic movie. Like, it is a meditative movie about aging and about like the lives of like agrarian America, and it's like family and like the things about and like kind of the tensions within family and the struggles of family. And did I mention aging and kind of the weird, talking about the Bikeriders, that weird Midwestern stubborn streak in a lot of like older men, of the kind of guy who like, who hasn't talked to his brother in years, but then hears he's dying and drives without a word, just gets on his John Deere tractor and drives to go see him, like that kind of thing. So there's just it's a lot to unpack. It's a movie with a lot to say, but presents it quite gently. It's also absolutely surreal that this is a movie that technically comes from Disney. Like, I watched this on Disney Plus. Watching a David Lynch movie on Disney Plus is one of the strangest experiences you'll ever have, because you'll get to the end and they'll be like, "Oh, we see you enjoyed David Lynch's The Straight Story. Would you like to see Moana?" And no, no, thank you. But The Straight Story, definitely, I can see this is a tearjerker. This is a really in-depth, really beautiful meditation on life, aging, family, and all those good things. So yeah, my number 6, David Lynch's The Straight Story.
All right, so Ricardo, 10, 2, 6.
Sure. Number 10, Furiosa.
All right. Mm-hmm.
I thought this kind of kicked ass.
Kind of. It kind of.
Yeah, it kind of kicked a lot of ass. Like, it was just, I thought the set pieces, that's what they sell for.
Yes.
Set pieces was great. It's a shame that it didn't make more money. I thought this was like really, really well done, and just came together so well. All right, so that's what 10. Right, number 9. Hurt me to say it, but I thought this would have been higher. But like when I think about it, it wasn't that higher. Inside Out 2.
Nice. I knew you were going to put this in your top 10. I knew.
Yeah, I really dug it. But what pulled it down somehow was Dream Productions, though. Like,
I know you loved it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Dream Productions like just do, and I was like, wow, I wish we got Dream Productions in a thing. But Inside Out 2 was pretty good. Like I just really like they nailed it. It made a ton of cash too. This thing I think made like 1.7 billion or something like that. Like
Yeah.
it's like they this really feel like Pixar coming back to form, Judd.
Right. On the subject of Inside Out 2, right? I don't think it's out on home media as yet, but I feel they're gonna have Dream Productions as a bonus feature. Like you could watch that,
right? Yeah,
you know, like
One
a separate disc or something like that. I have a feeling they're gonna do that.
Number 8, the Bikeriders. Recommended.
And I'm feeling bad. CC, forgive me. Still have not seen the Bikeriders. I know you love the film, but
I thought this was great. I
don't see that.
I'm sorry, CC. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought this was great.
Yeah, you're fine.
I thought this was excellent. Really good character stuff, character beats. Build a great story and plotline, and it deals with male masculinity, that kind of stuff, and bouncing off each other.
No, I was saying, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, this was just fantastic. Really, really, really great stuff. So yeah, that was what number 8, right? Number 7, I really dug the hell out of this movie. A lot of fun. And I just enjoyed it for what it was in terms of its meta conceits and where it was due. And I can't believe I enjoyed it as much as I did. I know a lot of people don't seem to dig this. Orion and the Dark.
I didn't get to see that one, but I'm sorry, Ricardo. I know you put me onto this since January.
This just stick with me in terms of what it does, and like other people don't seem to talk about it, and this just real stick with me as a meta conceit. But I just thought this really worked for me. I don't know, and hardly anybody talking about it. So yeah, but that's it. So yeah, that's number 7. Number 6. This was close. It was hugging me in the back of my head. But number 6, in my humble opinion, I really dug it. Hundreds of Beavers. This was so cool and interesting and weird. And it was just so funny, but really well done, really smart. Dug the hell out of it. And yeah, this was real hard. Like, wow. It stick with me, throughout the years, like, wow, this is a real hard movie though. This is like so interesting and so weird, and like I can't believe somebody make this. And it, like the previous movie he did with the lake, underwater lake thing, that didn't stick with me. That felt gimmicky, but this just like the art form, that craft just come together so well. This kind of weird craft that come together. And again, we living in this age where fidelity and realism, we don't pass that. We don't need to do that. We just need art now. Like, just do weird shit. Like, and give us a narrative and it'll work. Yeah. So number 6. So for me. Hundreds of Beavers, yeah.
Right, nice. And yeah, I really do need to watch that film, right? All right, so 10 to 6. Whew, this could be really interesting. Number 10, talked about this recently. Honora, this year's Palme d'Or winner. Just a very, very well made film, right? Very well written and whatnot, and very well edited too. All done by Sean Baker, right? If it's one award, if it's one Oscar that I'm rooting for with this movie to win, it's definitely editing. Like editing just adds so much to this film, right? A fantastic performance by Mikey Madison, who plays the lead character, and that's a reminder, as in terms of Sean Baker's over, especially when it comes to the subject matter that he tackles, right? Because yes, it explores the life of this sex worker who, runs into this young Russian millionaire, and she thinks that, because he proposed to her, and they're gonna get married and whatnot. Yeah, everything is gonna be all sunshine and rainbows, and yeah, unfortunately, it's not, right? But out of that though, just a great performance again from Mikey Madison. Just a very, very well made film, period, right? But yeah, had to put this on my top 10 for sure, right? Expect to hear more about this during the Oscar season, right? Despite its rather lurid material, this has Oscar potential all over this, right? Number 9, it's kind of weird putting this above Honora, but to be fair, I saw Honora digitally, and I saw this movie in theaters, and it made for one of the most memorable times at the theaters this year. Deadpool and Wolverine. Yes, that is my number 9. This is how I call it in my review. This is a one-off special. It's a one-off issue. This is something that we're not gonna get again. Like just think about it, like if you've ever read like some Marvel comic where this character teamed up with that character. That's exactly what it is, right? It's not perfect, just to get this out of the way, but still, it was highly entertaining, right? Just great performances from both Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, though. Just seeing them team up and cuss each other out for majority of the film. The cameos, left, right, and center, and just all these like just meta commentary on just just the state of the superhero film, not industry, but that's the state of superhero films these days. And then of course, just kind of paying tribute to the 2000s era, right? Especially with the Fox era as well, right? Kind of patting them back and saying, look, even though we kind of like don't really like these films in retrospect, we still admire the fact that you did at least put them out. At least you wanted to make something great, right? So I kind of admire the the perspective on that too, right? But yeah, outside of that though, it was the team up movie that we didn't expect, and it was a film that easy could have just been an utter failure, but no, Disney and Marvel Studios just swung heavy with this one, boy. And yeah, just made for one of the most entertaining times I've had in the theaters, right? Number 8. Never thought that in 2024 I'd say that I actually enjoyed, like really enjoyed, a Transformers movie. Yeah, number 8 is Transformers 1. Yeah, Transformers 1 amazed me, boy, because, from the trailer, you're just thinking, oh, it's just gonna be all like, silly buddy cop kind of thing because it's young Optimus and young Megatron, right? But then they literally pull the rug from underneath your feet, right? And they let you know, yes, we know the material we're working with here. And one thing I love about the show here is that it never watered it down to please younger, like the kids in the audience, basically, right? It felt like it was also made for the diehard fans, right? Another thing I love about this show here too, it kind of gives them justification to say, yes, I'm a Transformers fan. I've been loving this since the 80s, since I first saw the the G1 cartoon on TV, right? It felt like it was for them, but also for younger audiences as well, and for casual viewers like me who just marginally familiar with the lore of Transformers, right? But yeah, just seeing that dynamic between Optimus and Megatron. I mean, Megatron is voiced brilliantly by Brian Tyree Henry, and just seeing that divide though, and then they becoming the rivals that we know them as today, that those moments really got to me, boy. I was like moved though emotionally during those moments, right? But yeah, Transformers 1 is, and I gotta say this right now, probably the best animated Transformers movie I would say we've ever gotten, right? I mean, I know they're the diehards who will hold on to Transformers, the movie from 1986. I know they'll hold on to that, but that's more for the fans, really. That's more for the for the people who grew up on the G1 series, right? But I think that Transformers 1 is much better in my opinion. And not just because of the animation, right? But just the stellar storytelling in this, right? So yeah, a Transformers movie actually make it into my top 10 list, right? Wow, look at that, right? Number 7. Forgive me in advance, Tracy. Sorry, but this still had to be in my top 10, nonetheless.
Wow.
Yes, wow, right? Wow, part 1. Yes, Wicked part 1 is number 7 for me, boy.
I think I get a feeling if Wicked was a complete story, it'd be higher. I feel so. The part 1 thing threw me off.
All right, well, for me,
I hear you on that one, but I'll tell you why a little later.
All right,
I'll tell you why later.
I do not mind the splitting of these of the film itself, right? Because yes, slight spoiler, where this film stops off is exactly where the Broadway musical actually stops off for its like mid break or whatever it is, right? So it stops off at that moment, right? Yeah, so it's like an act 1 act 2 kind of thing, right? So it's like that. But yeah, I just had a blast watching this though. It was just a lot of fun. Just seeing this one time, Ariana Grande, I have a feeling she could get an Oscar nom though for her performance in this. Much akin to like what we saw with Margot Robbie this year with Barbie, right? I have a feeling it's gonna be like that because she really did remind me of Margot Robbie from Barbie a lot, right? But Cynthia Erivo though, I mean, she is a real star of this though. But I like that the show kind of purposefully makes you feel as if Ariana's just trying to outshine Cynthia, right? But actually Cynthia kind of sneaks up at just the right time and says, no. This is my show, and that's when she comes into her character and who she really is and whatnot, right? just the set pieces, the performances, the music, the songs, the rendition of the songs were great. Just the chemistry between Ariana and Cynthia absolutely worked for me. And the ending just blew me away. As I said in my review, I was like, yes, swing big, go high, go epic, go grandiose, go over the top, just go, right? And they did exactly that, right down to the gloriously over the top finale though. And yeah, the end, even though when I saw it in theaters, there wasn't that much people there. Yeah, everybody was clapping. And that I was like, yes, part 2, bring it on, right? And last point I'll make, right? I know you'll probably touch on this, Tracy, right? I love the fact that even though this movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes, it didn't feel too long though at all. I didn't feel like there was anything that should have been taken out, right? There might be some nitpickers that'll say, nah, I could take this out, and we didn't need to see talking animals, but no. Everything felt like it needed to be part of this story here. And yeah, I absolutely enjoyed this, right? And number 6, a show that I was put on to recently, again, just sticking with the Oscars for a bit, boy. The Seed of the Sacred Fig. This movie was fan-freaking-tastic, right? It is from an Iranian director by the name of Mohammad Rasulov, right? Who had to make this film in secret, right? Over the course of 70 days, right? Because his movies were already being banned in Iran, right? And it was to the point that when he finished make this, right? He was already on trial for being involved in a protest. I think that's what went on, right? And it was crazy like that, right? Dude had to flee his own home country, and he went to Germany and then got his film completed in terms of post-production, and then he launched it in Cannes and whatnot. The 2 lead actors couldn't even make it there, like they are actually banned from even leaving the country, right? But I mean, just the mere fact that the director, the writer of this, right, had to go outside of his home country to tell this story, which pretty much is just this indictment on just how messed up the political and religious systems are in Iran though, is amazing though. That's just inspirational to me, right? But yeah, this was just a fantastic story. It really blends the family drama and the political thriller genres very well. Just the directions it took caught me by surprise. And I just love that, even though you're getting like familiar elements of those 2 genres that I mentioned, there's still this undercurrent of, look, there's a serious problem going on in this country here, and we need to address this, right? So yeah, this was bold, daring filmmaking here though. And yeah, I am rooting for this right now to win Best International Feature at next year's Oscars. This is one of the best films I have seen all year, hands down.